Dear Santa, all the Sun Devils want for Christmas is a college football playoff win and a few more things.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name's Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off of your first purchase. Ladies and gentlemen, Merry Christmas to all of you. Any who do not celebrate Christmas, a very happy holidays to you as well. Now is the time of year where we make up our lists and we hope that we get all the good stuff from good old St. Nick, a jolly dude up north. And ASU's got a handful of stuff that we're hoping for. Now, at the end of the day, I'm happy with one or two things for sure, but I've got 5 things that I am hoping for. We're going to talk at the top of the show about the football things I want. Next up, I've got some basketball things that I'm curious about. And then at the end of the show is something that I just want for the university and the fans, period. But let's talk about football. Let's talk about the thing that I started off this show with. All I want for Christmas is a college football playoff win. Now, I will tell you right now, there's not going to be a lot of analysis on this episode about the college football playoff. I know that there's a lot of Texas fans that have interacted with the page over the last couple of days. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate the interaction. Here's a quick little horns down for you. That'll be the only one that you get here because we're not here to assess the game or break down Texas or anything like that. That comes later in the week. So hit subscribe and make sure that you turn on notifications so you get the update for those. No, what I want is a college football playoff win. And we're playing Texas. But even if it wasn't Texas, even if it's Indiana or Oregon or Boise State or Clemson or Ohio State or whoever, it doesn't matter who they played. I just want a college football playoff win for this program. Because the way that ASU is trending right now has me believing that that's on the horizon. And it's going to be sooner rather than later for ASU. I would prefer that it's going to be this year for ASU for a handful of reasons. If for no other reason than Texas is arguably the best team in college football. This is the toughest opponent that ASU has faced all year, the toughest opponent that ASU has faced in the last 5 years, the toughest opponent they've faced probably since 1997. When they played Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. I mean, that's how far back this goes. And don't get me wrong, ASU has played some very good teams. In the meantime, there's been no shortage of USC teams that have come through to play ASU and have a national title. But this Texas team scares me, man. Top to bottom, they might be the best roster in college football. There's a lot of future NFL players on this team. There's freshmen that are starting and making impacts. There's seniors there that are getting ready to pack their bags for the next level. It is a great team. And it's a perfect challenge for ASU to assess where you are. Now, you're an ascending program. Are you ready to compete with the big boys? And I mean the big boys. Again, you could have faced one of the other teams in the college football playoff, like no disrespect intended, but like a Notre Dame or God, who else was in the first round? Maybe a Tennessee or something like that, where they're really good programs that are going to contend on a regular basis. But Texas is one of the programs that's going to compete on an annual basis. And if they miss the playoff, it's one of those like, what happened? How did they miss the playoff kind of thing? They're a heavyweight to contend for a title every year. ASU is going to go into this game. They're going to be ready for this. I truly believe that ASU is going to be as prepared as they possibly can be for a team that's just significantly better than anything they faced this year. They've got a puncher's chance more than anyone will give them. I know that 13.5-point spread from our friends over at FanDuel seems a little much for ASU, but I mean, they got a lot to prove. So it's not a wonder why a lot of people are down on ASU and why a lot of fans with Texas are super high and overlooking ASU. I get it. This is your chance to see where you're at. If you beat Texas, then yeah, you clearly are one of the top dogs in the country. If you lose to Texas in a small margin, you're showing that you can contend. If you get blown out, yeah, you're a little behind. But the bottom line is I want a college football playoff win. This team deserves a college football playoff win. The way that they have gone in and week out and fought tooth and nail against good competition. They have been good teams. I know a lot of people want to make fun of the Big 12, but ASU does have 4 ranked wins on the year. You can take it for what it is. If you want to make fun of Utah, I get it. All the other teams, pretty darn good. They deserve a playoff win. The fans deserve a playoff win. We've been waiting for this for a long time. Here's hoping we get it. Here's the second thing for football that I really, really want. There's a couple of guys in the transfer portal that are really interesting to me. And it's the Branch brothers, Zachariah Branch and Zion Branch. The two of them were playing at USC together. They committed together. Zachariah, a 5-star receiver, and Zion Branch, a 4-star safety. They left USC together. They have been visiting different programs throughout the process here together. There's a lot of signs that these two are going to be a package. You get one, you're going to have the other. And it's like, oh no, not 2 very talented football players kind of thing. But you would be very fortunate to add these guys to your team, especially because the 2 positions they play, receiver and safety, need a little bit more depth. Zachariah Branch, this kid is a superstar. If he goes to a team that can get the full potential out of him, he's a first-round pick. He can do a little bit of everything from the wide receiver spot, and his ability to create after the catch is ridiculous. He's also got some upside on special teams. He's just a great utility guy. Zion Branch, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know too much about him. What I do know is he's productive. He's a former 4-star, and you put him in a safety room that really values having 3 guys. And right now, the spot for the 3rd person is wide open. ASU did just bring in Adrian Wilson from Washington State. There was a connection between him and Javen Robinson, who got to play with each other for a year. So there's competition. Montana Warren is back as well. They got a bunch of youngsters, but another veteran player at the safety position, I would tell you, is a must. And Zion Branch is someone that fits that perfectly. Those two, that would finish the class for me, for sure. There are a handful of other guys that I'm interested in. I was really in on Mark Hamper, but unfortunately he committed to Wisconsin, which I didn't see. So I'm really glad that I researched that before I spit out this episode. I was hoping that he would come here. He didn't. That's fine. Is what it is. I have 2 other guys that I'm really interested in. The first one I'd be over the moon about, and that's former 4-star pass rusher DJ Warner. He played out in Desert Edge in Goodyear, local kid. Last year was a 4-star. He was the number 2 recruit in the state of Arizona. And this kid was a highly recruited guy. ASU was trying to flip him towards the end of the process. Unfortunately, they were not successful. But Warner is in the transfer portal now after not really getting too much time on the field with the Jayhawks. And there's a chance that ASU can find a way to bring him home. ASU is going to need some depth from their pass rushing spot in general. Clayton Smith is back. I have a really good feeling Elijah O'Neal is back. If you guys have been paying attention, the NCAA is allowing junior college players to have 1 more year of eligibility, which would allow O'Neal to play 1 more year. All signs point to that, but I will wait for him to confirm that before I move on with that assumption. But Prince Dorba is going to be gone from the team. Jamon Tapp, who came in through the transfer portal, is leaving. They are bringing back JP Dieter. I think Justin Wadley is pretty much all but confirmed he's coming back. Roman Petrie is back. But I still want another body in that room, especially because a lot of those guys we just named don't have a ton of experience. Outside of Clayton Smith and Elijah O'Neal, you've got a lot of guys who have veteran aspects to him and guys that are really young and haven't seen the field very much. DJ Warner fits into the latter, but it's a highly talented kid. And if nothing else, just give me the feel-good story of that Activate the Valley and bringing home these kids who left Arizona and making them a part of this vision. I would love DJ Warner. He would be one of my top guys. I would put him behind the Branch brothers. Warner's one of my borderline must-gets. And then I don't expect this to happen. And if it did, it'd be really, really cool. When it doesn't, I'm not going to be heartbroken, but Tacario Davis, the corner from U of A, former 3-star recruit, now a 4-star transfer portal prospect. This kid's a beast. He's 6'4". He's been mocked to the first round several times throughout the season. This is a kid with NFL future. There's ball skills. Even without the interceptions, he just breaks up the ball really well. He's going somewhere else for his last year. I imagine he's going to go somewhere where he can either contend or somewhere where he can refine his skills to get ready to potentially jump into the first round of the 2026 draft. ASU has a little bit of both there, and they also have some NIL opportunities. So it'd be really cool, but I will tell you it's extremely unlikely. I'm not expecting it to happen, and it's not something that I'm going to be waiting hand and knee for. That's not the phrase. I can't remember. We'll see what happens. It'd be cool. I'm not counting on it. Flipping over to the hardwood, there's a handful of stuff that I really want to see from Arizona State. Nothing more than their own postseason trip. That's coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let me talk to you about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is focused on togetherness this holiday season. That means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it's the perfect gift. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks, and it makes getting tickets for live events even easier than before because they filter out the fluff and show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. That curation process helps you save money on not just sports, but concerts, comedy, theater events, and more as well. They have an all-in pricing feature which shows you the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. You can also get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, and you'll know what to expect when you arrive. Their lowest price guarantee, easily the best part of Game Time, will credit you 110% of the difference if you find tickets in the same section and row for less on a different ticketing app. Your purchase is also covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Thanks again for tuning in and making Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. A shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Let's talk some basketball because ASU basketball is pretty darn solid. They have a couple of losses this year. Unfortunately, they were both to ranked programs with Florida and Gonzaga. So you clearly are a step behind. You're not nearly as ready to compete for a title as the Sun Devils as the Sun Devils football team is. But this is a program that is heating up now. And one of the biggest factors that has led to this program heating up is that NIL really getting involved. And you've seen millions of dollars start to get poured into basketball. Bobby Hurley had a docuseries on Netflix that brought in about $2 to $3 million. One of the 5-star kids on the team, Joson Sanon, had a deal with, I think, Adidas that also was able to contribute to part of the NIL for ASU. And their basketball program is growing at a rapid rate. They had what I would presume is the best recruiting class that program has ever seen in basketball, with not just 5-star Joson Sanon, but 5-star Jaden Quaintance and 4-star Amir Ali, all of whom have found pivotal roles for this team. Quaintance has started every game. Sanon might as well be starting every game, but he is your sixth man at worst. And Ali gets mixed into the game a lot as well off the bench. They have found really pivotal roles, and it's because of everything that has been going into it. That being said, as much as this program is growing and as high a ceiling as we seem to be looking at, we still need results. And again, ASU against 2 ranked teams this year with Gonzaga and Florida, lost both of them. Gonzaga was close. Florida was not close. They're a step behind. And this is a program that has been a step behind in the Bobby Hurley era. They are 2-1 in play-in games. So they've appeared in the bracket 3 times, 2-1. They are 0-2 in the round of 64. So me personally, I don't say they've won a tournament game. I know they technically have because of the play-in games, but that's different for me personally. I want to go dancing. I want a run in March. I want to go to the Sweet 16. And this team is as talented as we've seen from the Sun Devils in the Bobby Hurley era. I know in the 2019-2020 season, ASU was phenomenal with Remy Martin and Kamani Lawrence and some of the other dudes that was going to go to the tournament and potentially have a really good run in there. But, COVID knocked out that season, and then ASU was on the downswing for a couple of years. They seem to be back up to pace. Bobby Hurley has shown that he can build and coach a really good team. Now it's just a matter of getting a team that is phenomenal, a lot of future NBA talent here, which is crazy to say for ASU basketball, that there's not just one guy, but there's 2 guys and maybe more if they develop. Can you get to the postseason? That's the first big step. You're in the Big 12, which is like the conference for college basketball. So there's a lot of opportunities here to get some statement wins. That's going to be important for you. Making a deep run in the Big 12 tournament and having a just wildly successful season. If you can find your way into the tournament, that's the first big step. And ASU has struggled 3 times in 9 years, although probably would have been 4 times if they had been able to have the tournament during that COVID pandemic. Is this team going to get there? And if they do, can they finally win a game in the actual round of 64? Not just the play-in. Again, they're 2-1 in play-in games. The bracket is different for me. I don't know if maybe that's just a bad opinion or a bad take, or if I'm spot on. I don't know. That's just the way it is for me. I want a round of 64 win. I want to go to the Sweet 16. I don't know if they're doing that this year. There's the potential with the way that this program is building to start getting to that point. But as I have said on the podcast many times, ASU may not be this dynamic basketball program, and I don't know that they ever will be. But this is still a program that is huge and should have better fan support. Hopefully it's going to start getting there. And when it does get there, this is a program that should be going to the tournament more often than not. Not 3 times in 9 years. Hopefully at least every other season with a string of them every now and then. That's the expectation we have for a program that is as big and has as much potential as they do. We haven't seen it. Here's hoping that changes, and this year is a great chance to change. Item number 4, look, Bobby Hurley has always been a good recruiter. He's had several 5-stars, not just Sanon, not just Quaintance. He brought in Josh Christopher a few years ago. He brought in Lou Dortz. He brought in Enoch Bache. There's been a lot of very talented guys to come through Arizona State in his tenure. The dude recruits. There's never been a question about that. What I want is for it to keep going, for it to start reaping the benefits for us, and to get this kid Koa Peat. The one and only Koa Peat, who we have talked about many times on the show, and for a very good reason. He's one of the best recruits in the entire country. He is currently, as I am looking at his profile right now, the number 6 player on 24/7 and the number 7 player on 24/7's composite score. He's number 1 in Arizona. He's a top 5 power forward for both of those rankings. This kid is a monster. From the sounds of it, Arizona State appears to be one of the leading candidates. I have heard a rumor, and this was a while ago, so this could be very outdated at this point, but it seems like it's down to ASU and Arizona for Koa Peat. And come on, man, if you want to stay in the Valley and see your family at an easier rate, ASU's the chance. ASU's the opportunity, I should say. U of A, it's 2.5 hour drive. It's still very doable, but I mean, you can go home every weekend if that's what you want to do at ASU, and it's not going to cost you nearly as much in gas. There's a lot of opportunities here at ASU. Now the NIL is stacking up. The team, if they go to March Madness, I think that plays into this, is having that better shot, that better opportunity to advertise yourself to Koa Peat and say, look, we're building something, and you can be that piece that helps push us over the top to help us win more games in March Madness. And who knows, maybe you get hot and you make a deep run into the tournament. Koa Peat instantly upgrades and amplifies that chance for you to compete that way. Your odds get significantly better with Koa Peat. And again, it would prove that ASU's recruiting is at a rate that we've never seen before. 2 5-stars this year, potentially getting another one next year. Who would succeed Jaden Quaintance, who we just got this year, as the highest rated recruit in Arizona State basketball history? Quaintance has to play 2 years of college because he reclassified to play early. So Quaintance and Koa Peat would be together. Josan Sainon, who's here now, has already announced he is going into the NBA draft for next year. I doubt we change his mind, but how cool would it be if we could and have those 3 together? That'd be phenomenal. But you have a chance to do something really special this year with Sainon and Quaintance. And then you can keep it going with Peat and Quaintance next year. That's what I'm hoping for basketball. Talked about what I'm hoping for football. But there's one thing that I'm hoping for the Valley, for the fans, and everyone else. And that's that this stride that we're on keeps going. That's coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let me talk to you about our friends over at FanDuel, guys. It's America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but don't worry, it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up that W, too. I love betting on players to score a touchdown, how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. Player props, that's my bread and butter. Anytime touchdowns, over on receptions, over on rushing yards, over on passing yards, it's the best. I love player props. And there's so many other things that you can check out as well that FanDuel will have the bets for. They got college football too, college basketball, everything that you need. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance of $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. One more time, I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in and making Locked On Sun Devils your first listen of the day. And a shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. There's one more thing on my Christmas list that I want for the Arizona State Sun Devils. And it's twofold, I will say. But one big picture, because they play together. I want this Valley to continue to get activated and have that turn into more and more NIL. ASU sports right now, everything is surging. Football at a level we haven't seen in decades. Basketball has the chance to have one of the best teams we've seen in a long time, maybe have a little run in March Madness. We've got a phenomenal volleyball team. We've got a phenomenal hockey team. We've got so many different programs that are surging right now. And there's a chance that in spring, maybe ASU's baseball and softball teams are able to get things rolling again, because I know that they've been down for a little bit. And if that NIL is able to catch up and help those teams as well, ASU turns into an everything school. It's not just a football school. It's a school that has great athletics across the board, and they offer everything. They got rugby, lacrosse, they've got swim and dive, gymnastics, wrestling. ASU has everything to offer. And that's why getting the NIL to continue to trend upwards is going to be so big for this program. And it is trending upward. In the 2 years that Kenny Dillingham has been here, we have, first of all, established an NIL collective with the Sun Angel Collective, and we have seen it just grow steady and steady and steady. And with the season that we've had with football, it's through the roof. It's everything that we want, but it's also everything that we've believed it could be. What are we? We're the sleeping giants, Arizona State, the sleeping giants of college football, of college sports, right? It's up after years and years and decades worth of the sleeping giant of Arizona State. It's awake. Now it's going to be up to us to keep it awake. We can't just let it go away. This can't be a 1 or 2 year thing. ASU fans, the longtime ones, the youngsters, the alumni, the former players, the boosters, everybody deserves what ASU is getting right now. It's been so much fun this year, just from football, to sit there and have a great time watching this team. There's not been many times this year watching ASU's football that you've just been really frustrated and wanting to turn the game off. They've been competitive nearly every week, with really one exception against Cincinnati, but that's also a different thing because you didn't have Sam Levitt. Neither here nor there. This has been a really fun program to watch. I know a lot of you probably haven't tuned into basketball yet. You've got to tune into basketball. They're not playing a ton of games right now because of the holiday season. They won't be back until a week from yesterday. I'm recording this on Tuesday night. So on New Year's Eve, ASU basketball will be back. Anything to put in front of me and see who they play, but you got to watch these games. This is a fun team. This is just a lot of athletics that's really fun. The hockey team's fun. The volleyball team has been fantastic. This is the time for us to continue pushing that momentum. We can't let it slow down, which brings me to the second part of that activating the Valley. The NIL comes with it, but we as fans, we got to stick with it, because we know as Arizona fans of sports teams, this is true. There are diehard fans across every one of the fan bases, the Cardinals, the Sun Devils, the Diamondbacks, the Suns. But there's also the fact that when those teams are bad, it's hard to get people invested. The city of Phoenix is just one of the biggest metropolitan places in the country, and there's so much for you to do. There's an endless amount of fantastic golf courses. You're a handful of hour drive away from Flagstaff, from Las Vegas, from the coast of San Diego and LA. You can make the trip out to the Gulf of Mexico pretty easily as well. There's a ton of stuff in Phoenix and surrounding Phoenix that's a really quick drive or a quick flight. There's a lot to do out here. So if you're not putting a good product on the field or on the court, it's not a wonder why it's going to be hard to get people to get invested. But this is where I challenge the fans to remain invested. We're doing great right now. There's going to be slumps. There will inevitably be slumps. There's slumps for elite programs in the country across any sport. There will be slumps. There's going to be some very difficult times for ASU football, basketball, baseball, whatever. We have to remain consistent in the way we root on these programs. We deserve it. We've been waiting for years, but it goes both ways. The players deserve this. The coaches deserve this. for everything that we have been waiting for. They have been waiting for the fan support to pour in the way that it has this year. And they deserve for it to continue to pour in the way that it has this year. That's our end of the bargain that we need to hold up. We have to stay loyal. No matter what, this future is brighter than ever. So, dear old Jolly St. Nick, I've got 4 things that I'm asking for specifically. And this 5th thing for the NIL and the Valley to stay activated, just send those vibes. Put it on our hearts and do whatever magic you have to do to keep ASU fans engaged through the highs and lows, no matter what, because everything continues to be great. So, dear Santa, I want a college football playoff win. I want the Branch brothers in the transfer portal, and I would love DJ Warner. I want Koa Peat. I want a March Madness win, hopefully a run, and I want the NIL in the Valley to keep being activated. That's my Christmas list. Hopefully it's not too much for you, Mr. Claus, but I have been a very good podcasting host this year, most of the time. There's definitely been some times that, we stir the pot, but that's what we do here on Locked On Sun Devils. What's on your guys' Christmas list that you are hoping Santa is going to bring Arizona State? Let me know in the comments. You can hit me up on Twitter at Richie Bradshaw36. The podcast is there at LO_Sun Devils. Wherever you're getting your shows, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. You'll get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate all of you for tuning in to make us your first listen of the day. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. You guys are the best. Now that we are moving on from Christmas, we are back into getting ready for the college football playoff game against Texas. There's a lot of discussion to be had. I'm going to be sitting down with some fans to discuss with them. I am trying to get something done with some of our other Locked On hosts. We're going to have a game day preview. We're going to have a live at some point. I still got to figure out when the best time to do that will be. We got a lot coming up. So now's never been a better time to subscribe. And if you do, turn on notifications and you'll stay up to date. I'll see you guys later. And until next time, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils, and a Merry Christmas to all.